Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Samuel Schallenberger. I am the Assistant Director for Orientation and Student Development from College Programming and Orientation, and I will be serving as a moderator for this evening's webinar. We're very excited that you all are here. Tonight's webinar is part of our Family Orientation webinar series, and it is covering ways in which families can best support your student as they begin their journey here at the University of Chicago. We have several different areas represented here tonight. We have Chris Kincaid, Dr. Meeta Kumar, Ravi Randavi, and Eric Heath representing student wellness, the Associate Dean of Students for CI&I, and safety and security, as well as college academic advising. So we are very excited to hear from them this evening. We will be passing the torch from each department and opening up plenty of time towards the end for Q&A. We did have quite a few questions submitted through our registration portal, which we're very excited to share about. And we will also be accepting questions through the Q&A function towards the bottom of your screen. So if you do have questions throughout the presentation, you may feel free to submit those, and we will be able to kind of go through them towards the end and just make sure that you will be leaving here with no questions. But each area will be representing about 5 minutes of tonight's presentation and just kind of introducing themselves and their unit. And then we are going to do the absolute best to get as many questions answered as possible. So we're going to begin tonight with Chris Kincaid from the College Academic Advising Office, and I will pass it to Chris.
Thanks, Samuel. Hi, everybody. As Samuel mentioned, my name is Chris Kincaid, and I'm an Assistant Dean of Students in the college. So on behalf of the Dean of Students Office, and in particular, the College Academic Advising Office, I want to welcome you and your students to the University of Chicago, and thank you for taking the time to join us this evening. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to talk a little bit about the role of the College Academic Advising Office specifically. I'm going to talk about what we do, what we don't do, and then what we would encourage you to do with your students. So to start, the Academic Advising Office is currently comprised of 25 full-time advisors and 7 deans. We have a very talented group of advisors who come from a variety of professional and educational backgrounds. Some of them actually have advanced degrees in higher education administration and student affairs. Others are coming out of a variety of other different academic disciplines, and several of them have their PhDs in those areas. They don't have other responsibilities within the college, such as instruction or teaching. Rather, their full-time role is to support your students throughout their time in the college, so they're able to focus on that and focus solely on that. In fact, the College Advising Office is one of the few offices at UChicago whose staff meets with every single student during their time here. So we will have a touch point with your student starting with, well, we've already started, and from here moving forward. And as you're likely aware, your students had at least one advising meeting with their college advisor already, or they should have. In addition to this initial meeting, they'll meet with their advisor during orientation week. That'll be in a large group format with the other advisees in their advisor's caseload. And then they'll have one-on-one meetings 3 more times throughout the upcoming academic year, once each in the autumn, winter, and spring quarters. While those 3 meetings are mandatory meetings, students are more than welcome to schedule additional advising appointments, and they can also communicate with their advisor over email or via the phone. If your student's advisor happens to be unavailable on a particular day, we also have an advisor on call program, as well as a general office email that's monitored. Both of these are available during normal business hours and are utilized for quick questions. So a little bit about this upcoming academic year. During this first year, the advisors are really going to focus on developing the advisor-advisee relationship. So what this means is that they're going to take time to talk with your student about their interests, their goals, their background, any concerns that they have moving forward. The advisors will act as resources and sounding boards, and will engage their students in idea exploration on everything from how to approach faculty members during office hours, to which degree program best fits their future goals, to hold on to your seats, talk with parents about how they may no longer want to go to medical school. Advisors are not guidance counselors, as your students might have experienced in high school. Instead, advisors are really acting as thought partners. So they can help your students explore all of the options, help them manage all of the puzzle pieces that make up their majors, minors, concentrations, as well as all of the extra and co-curricular activities that are available to them. It's quite a complex curriculum. There's a lot to get involved in, and so it's nice to have someone there who you can have a discourse about all of these different options. Advisors can also help students anticipate and then navigate potential roadblocks. In the end, however, college students have autonomy over their educational pursuits, and we do expect them to take ownership of this. It's their academic experience, and the choices are ultimately theirs to make. We're just here to help them along the way. The next thing I want to talk a little bit about is somewhat implicit in what I've already shared, but I want to make it a bit more explicit. And that is that the advising relationship is really between the student and the advisor. And for this relationship to grow, your student needs to be confident that the things they share with their advisor are private. If your student invites you to attend a meeting with their advisor, you're more than welcome to do so. And some of you may have done that over the summer. But I do want to stress that this should be the exception, not the rule. We really want the students meeting with the advisors one-on-one so that they can develop that relationship and trust that's necessary to carry that relationship forward during their time in the college. One thing I'll also note is that advisors won't meet with parents without the student present. If you do have concerns about your student, you're welcome to reach out to your student's advisor. But in turn, the advisor will always ask the student for their permission to respond to you and then loop you into that conversation as appropriate. Advisors won't be able to share specific information about your student's academics or other details. Rather, the advisor will encourage the student to have these conversations with you themselves. And that is what this relationship is all about, is managing those decisions and those relationships as they come up. I want to close just with a few suggestions that you can pass along to your students on our behalf. We'd appreciate it, particularly when you get the sense that they may be worried about something or feeling pressure of the increasing responsibility along with the increasing independence. Number one, please tell them to ask for help. We're on their side. They don't have to go through this journey alone, and they shouldn't rely just on themselves. There are plenty of people on campus who are more than willing to help. They have their coaches if they're on an athletic team. They have their residence heads in the residence hall. Their instructors, although potentially seemingly intimidating, are there to help. And then, of course, their advisors are there to help as well. And their advisor can, in fact, be their biggest advocate on campus. It's extremely difficult to be successful academically at UChicago if you're not socially, emotionally, and physically healthy as well. And you're going to hear from a couple of the other offices who can certainly help in these areas as well and help your student maintain health in all areas of their life. It's really a sign of maturity, not of weakness, to reach out for help and support when needed. So we'd really appreciate your help in encouraging your students to ask for help. Number two, let them know that and remind them that they belong here. They were admitted to the University of Chicago because we believe they can be successful. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that everything will work out perfectly on the first try. Sometimes it takes multiple attempts to find the right extracurricular activity, the right major, the right research position. But as we as advisors know, this is a very safe place to fail. We don't like to talk about failure, but things are going to happen. And there's no better place for those things to happen than a place where there's a very good security net to catch students when they are having those challenges. Your student may struggle through general chemistry or a calculus course in a way that they've never struggled before. That's okay. Learning how to learn at this level can take some time. Also, meeting new people and developing social connections with people that you haven't known your whole life can take time as well. This is all part of the normal transition process, and students will go through this process at varying speeds. So continue to encourage your students, let them know they belong here, be patient with them. We'll be patient as well, and we'll help them through those challenges. And the third thing is, you can tell them it's okay to miss home, to miss their dog, to miss their little brother, their friends, even their own bed. That's okay. It can take a while for UChicago to feel like home. But we've found that in the vast majority of cases, if the students are patient and give it a chance, we find they'll feel very comfortable by the time spring quarter rolls around. That also means they have to get through the winter quarter as well, which can be challenging in Chicago. Those are things that we'd appreciate you sharing with students on our behalf. I'll be happy to answer questions as they come up related to these areas. But for now, I will pass it on to Ravi, who will talk about the services provided by the Center for Identity and Inclusion.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ravi Randhava. I use he, him pronouns, and I lead our Center for Identity and Inclusion team. The center is home to 3 different student-facing offices: Multicultural Student Affairs, LGBTQ Student Life, and Student Support Services. And those 3 areas work collaboratively to support students of color, students who identify as LGBTQ, and FLY students. FLY is the acronym that we tend to use on campus for first generation, lower income, and/or immigrant, including undocumented and documented students. And there's an asterisk with that last area. We work very closely with our colleagues in the Center for College Student Success to support those communities. We have a beautiful building in the heart of campus with comfortable lounges and event spaces. It's often described as a home away from home. We certainly hope that will be true for your students. And we also offer a wide variety of programs and resources, provide individualized support for students to make sure they have what they need to achieve their goals. And lastly, work in partnership with student-facing areas across the university to advance or really make tangible for students some of the university's commitments to building a more inclusive campus and stronger sense of community. We are working on our fall quarter programming calendar as we speak, but I'd love to share just a few examples of past programs, a few favorites. One of many highlights for me was a conversation between Michelle Obama and students from schools across the country, including UChicago. We sent a 4th year to DC to participate in that conversation. I also think about performances by a local group called Africaribe, and conversations about the music dance form of bomba as a means of cultural preservation. I think about a queer prom that we hosted in collaboration with a number of student groups. I think about a jam-packed FLY Celebration Week. The inaugural FLY Celebration Week took place this past year. And then in thinking about resources, we tend to focus on personal and professional development and overall well-being. We have a really robust student employment program. We try to support student-driven programming whenever possible. So we raffle off tickets to student-run cultural shows. We work closely with the registrar's office to update pronoun and preferred name availability in administrative systems. We host workshops on financial wellness in collaboration with campus partners. So those are just a few of the many examples. And I'd like to take just a moment to recognize our dedicated full-time staff, many of whom are pictured here. We do have a new director of LGBTQ student life joining us in September. And we're also excited to share that we've expanded our Campus Inclusion Fellow program. So this year, those are all recent graduates of the college. All of them were 4th years last year, and they'll be with us for this fellowship, this 1-year fellowship. And we're really excited because they're uniquely positioned to build community and affinity among student and alumni communities. So in summary, at the most basic level, again, if you are thinking about the Center for Identity and Inclusion, think about programs and resources, think about individualized student support, and think about the space itself as a student center. We cannot wait to welcome you and your students to campus during orientation, or in some cases pre-orientation if they're participating in one of our programs. We encourage you to sign up for our newsletter if you're interested in learning more. Visit inclusion.uchicago.edu, and under About Us, you'll find a newsletter sign up, and also to join us for our reception for new college students and families. That's taking place on Wednesday, September 20th from 1:30 to 3 p.m. That is the first of many opportunities for your students to engage with our office. If we can be of assistance in the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly or any member of our team. And with that, I will turn things over to my wonderful colleague, Dr. Meeta Kumar.
Thank you, Ravi. Hello, everyone. I'm Meeta Kumar, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm the Assistant Vice President for UChicago Student Wellness. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you We know you care deeply about the well-being of your student, and we want you to know that we do too. Wellness is a top priority at University of Chicago, and I'm delighted to be here with all of you today. We can move on, Sam. So at U Chicago Student Wellness, we provide students with comprehensive medical, mental health, and wellness services to support their academic, personal, and professional success. We believe that wellness is essential for academic and life success. To best serve our students, we are made up of 3 functional areas: medical, mental health, and health promotion. We also administer the United Healthcare Student Health Insurance Plan as well. Most of our services are covered at no cost to the students actively enrolled in an eligible program of study. U Chicago Student Wellness is here for students, and we mean that. So this is a slide where you may want to note some important numbers and contact information. So we are physically located in a beautiful new state-of-the-art student wellness center. All of our services are co-located in the same facility. If you need to contact us during business hours, please call our main line 773-834-9355. If you need assistance outside of business hours, you can utilize the most appropriate after-hours resource. As you can see on the slide, we have a 24/7 nurse advice line, as well as a 24/7 therapist on call. And then there's also other local resources available through UCPD, or if in an emergency, please call 911. We can move to the next slide, Sam. We have a large, dedicated, and caring medical staff. Medical services are comprehensive, and it is a full-service clinic providing many routine and primary care visits, such as physicals, gynecological care, routine labs, and immunizations. Of course, students can see providers for a range of medical concerns and sick visits as well. If students have questions, staff can help with scheduling appointments, address insurance concerns, and assist with managing medications. And again, most of our services medical services are covered free of charge for students in eligible programs. We have a large multidisciplinary staff providing culturally sensitive mental health care for a range of presenting concerns. And we really try to customize care to each student's needs. There's also multiple different options that are available to students based on their preference and their needs. So we have short-term individual and couples counseling available to students. Our psychiatric services are long-term, and students can have access to that for as long as they need or as long as they are enrolled. In addition to that, we have lots of therapy, support group options, referral services to local area providers, academic skill assessment program, as well as psychoeducational workshops, again, in an attempt to serve an array of different presenting concerns and needs. Last year, in an effort to increase convenience and access to mental health care for our students, we launched a partnership with a leading national telehealth company specializing in serving university students. So through this, all eligible students now can have additional access to a range of different mental health services. 24/7 Talk Now option to access a mental health professional, scheduled individual counseling visits with a licensed therapist, psychiatric treatment through a referral through us, health coaching sessions, as well as lots of weekly guided meditation, yoga group sessions, etc. This is available in all 50 states. Students can create a free account through the link that is visible on this site. Again, they can go to our main website to also access more information about these services. We also promote healthy behaviors and skills to enhance overall well-being, manage stress, and build a more connected and informed community. So through our health promotion programs and initiatives, there's lots of different options for students to engage in yoga, meditation, think about improving their sleep, alcohol, other drug education programs, etc. There's also lots of peer education and advocacy groups that are available in case students want to get involved in some of those efforts as well. And lastly, and to summarize, again, here are some quick resources. Please feel free to note this information. Again, our wellness.chicago.edu is a great resource. Please go to our website and learn more about our services and ways to schedule appointments. And here are again, lots of phone numbers for you to just know and pass on to your student. Again, we are here to support your students in any way, encourage them to reach out early and ask for help. And with that, I will pass on to my colleague, Eric Heath, to talk about safety and security.
Good evening. My name is Eric Heath, and I serve as the Associate Vice President for Safety and Security at the university. I've worked for the university for 9 years and just recently marked my 23rd year in campus public safety. Happy to be here this evening to share with you how our department serves our students and our greater community. Created in 2009, the Department of Safety and Security is a consolidated public safety agency whose main operational components include transportation and parking, campus security and security technology, environmental health and safety, emergency management and public health, and then the University of Chicago Police Department. When I think about the areas of our department that our students interact with the most, it's undoubtedly the transportation network and our security officers who are stationed in various areas of our campus and patrol in our extended communities, and our police officers who respond to emergency situations. Each of these units have an integral role in making sure your student has a safe and secure environment in which to live and learn. Our department offers a robust transportation network that operates both on campus and in the surrounding communities. Detailed route maps and transportation options for your students can be found on our website, but also on our mobile safety app called UChicago Safe. Our security officers, also known as safety ambassadors, are carefully stationed throughout our campus in the evenings as a supplement to our police department. The safety ambassadors also patrol the surrounding communities of Hyde Park, Kenwood, and Woodlawn. Our safety ambassadors are the cornerstone of our safety escort program, and upon request, will walk with anyone who feels uncomfortable doing so in the evenings and late nights. Anyone can request a safety escort by contacting our department or also through the UChicago Safe mobile safety app. In the rare instances that students need services from the University of Chicago Police Department, our nationally accredited law enforcement agency that serves our campus 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Our law enforcement team works in partnership with the various units within campus and student life, including the Deans on Call, residential life and student counseling services, to ensure that your students get the appropriate amount of support should they need emergency assistance. UCPD can also be reached by phone or through the UChicago Safe mobile safety app. As you might have noticed, the recurring resource that I mentioned is the UChicago Safe safety app, which is why it's the only slide I share this evening. It's the most important thing that I hope you take away from this evening. It is free to any community member. It can be downloaded on any Android or Apple device. Not only will your student have access to a host of safety-related resources and emergency contacts, they will be able to have quick access to the Dean on Call program, student counseling services, as well as information regarding other local support services. So please ask your students to download the UChicago Safe app before they get to campus. Thank you, and our department looks forward to working with you and your students over the next 4 years. With that, I'll turn it back over for question and answer.
Thank you so much to each of our campus partners and leaders for presenting. And we are going to dive in a little bit to the questions that you all have submitted during registration for this webinar, as well as some of those that we've been getting through the Q&A function. So my panelists would like to rejoin. I'm going to start tossing a few questions at you. We're going to get to hear from the experts on these topics and make sure that you all do not leave with any questions this evening. So just to kind of start right off, Chris, I'm going to first send to you, if the student and advisor relationship is not working out, what is the process for either switching to another advisor, or what do you recommend in that situation?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so we have amazing advisors, but as your question suggests, the match is not always perfect. And in many cases, it won't be perfect, but there are times when it just simply isn't going to work out. What we do ask is that students give at least a quarter, give the advisor-advisee relationship a chance for at least a quarter. And if it's still not going well for some reason, the student can actually submit a petition to the college advising office. It's the general petition form. They'll hear about that. They'll know where to find it. And they can submit that request to change advisors with a rationale and an explanation for why that may not be working out for them. That petition is reviewed by our director and then may or may not be approved based on her review. So short answer, yes, it is possible to change advisors, but we do ask for a bit of time to let things settle down.
Perfect. Thank you. Persistence is key. Next question is going to be directed towards Dr. Kumar. As parents, we would like to make any decisions regarding our students' care in case they experience any sort of medical issue and cannot care for themselves. We would also like to have access to their health information. What process is there for gaining access and making these decisions? How do you go about recommending handling that situation?
Absolutely. So to start out with, students are over 18, so all of the information related to their health and wellness is confidential, protected health information. So, but your student can drive the process. If a student can sign a release of information form, we have those pretty readily available, and give us written consent to share appropriate types of information with anyone that they would like. We are happy to do that. So students can reach out to us, request that form. They can also do that through secure message, through our student portal. And we are happy to discuss, the relevant information and share, as they deem necessary. Now, regarding emergency situations where, parents feel like they may want to make decisions regarding healthcare for a student who may not be in a situation to do that for themselves, that's a little bit of a separate issue. That's more like an advanced directive, like a healthcare power of attorney form. Again, students can reach out to us and request that form. And please discuss that with your student. And if they send that form back to us, we're happy to upload that into the student chart and have that be accessible and available if and when needed. We also encourage family members to keep copies with themselves and keep copies with the primary care physician. Again, please reach out to us if you have further questions or concerns related to these processes. Our staff is happy to assist, navigate that for you.
Perfect. Thank you. And just following up on the power of attorney that you mentioned, do parents still need the release form of one, or do students still need the release form of one or more parents if a parent has a health power of attorney? And does the health power of attorney need to be specific to Illinois, or can another state satisfy that requirement?
Yeah, so it's a little bit complicated. I wish there was like one form that could address all of these. So these are two different forms. The power of attorney is it's a legal form as compared to a release of information form. You can get the power of attorney form on UCM's website. Again, we are happy to download that form and send that to your student. Sometimes parents bring that form from other states. So again, you can send that form to us and we can upload that into the student's chart. Again, two very separate different processes and two different forms for different needs.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then Eric, in terms of safety and security, if there is a safety and security related issue on campus, how and when are parents alerted, and specifically how?
Yeah, so I did provide an answer that has a website, but I'll recap. But I wanted to point that out so that anybody had access to our website. So if you go to our main website and you go to the Stay Informed page, we have a variety of different resources where we use to inform our community about crime or ongoing emergencies. Parents are not automatically enrolled in our C-Alert system. C-Alert is a messaging system and text messaging system that we send out to our active community members if there were a life-threatening situation. That could be weather, it could be an active threat, what have you. But in a major emergency where an immediate response by our community is needed, while parents are not automatically enrolled in the system, the parents can elect and opt into the system. Just, I think on our Stay Informed page, there's like a short code that you can text to opt in and have access to C-Alert messaging.
Thank you so much. And then this is a little bit aimed at Chris, also maybe Karina, but if a student has an emergency or needs to leave campus urgently to come home, who should that student contact? Is it an RA? Is it all of the professors? Who are you reaching out to in that situation of an emergency?
Sure, I'll start. Karina, if you have anything to add, please feel free to chime in. Obviously, this depends on kind of the level of that emergency. If the student is able, or if someone is able, reaching out to the advisor is a great first step, because then depending on what is needed from that point, the advisor can serve as kind of a proxy for the student to reach out to instructors to let them know that the student has had to leave campus, and we can be as generic about that or as specific about it as the student wants or is comfortable with. So we can certainly reach out to instructors just to let them know that the student may not be there for a short period of time, or if that extends, we can also continue that conversation with them to see what the best option might be. The advisor can also alert other people, depending again on the seriousness of the event and whether or not that departure from campus needs to turn into a leave of absence. We do have a formal leave of absence that students can take really for any reason. A lot of students will use that when emergencies arise or physical, mental health crises. They will take a leave of absence. Students can also take a leave of absence just to kind of pull back a little bit. But if we need to go through that process, if it just becomes clear that the student isn't going to be coming back for the remainder of that quarter, we can initiate that leave of absence as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris. And then I believe that this one would be directed a little bit more towards Ravi. If the family member, parent, student is an international student, are they able to connect with your center, or should we encourage them to connect with the international office instead? Maybe a little bit of both. Share your insight, please.
Both are great. We actually work with students across all 13 schools and divisions, so both undergraduate and graduate professional students, and we certainly work with quite a few international students. Depending on the nature of the inquiry, or we will loop in our colleagues at International Affairs, and they will do the same for us. We focus a little bit more on helping students find community, build peer networks, make connections to specific campus and community resources. They focus a little bit more on things like on specific immigration issues, on visas, etc. So both is the short answer.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm very excited. We received a question about orientation that could be relevant to a lot of people regarding identification materials on campus. So in terms of student identification systems, all students will receive their UCID card at move-in or at orientation check-in if they're an off-campus student. And students will use their UCID card to get access to their residence hall, their dining hall, shuttles. So this is imperative that they keep track of this card when they first arrive in just a few short weeks. But that is essentially their all-access pass to everything UChicago. We have another question for Dr. Kumar. It's sort of a two-parter. So first part, who helps monitor the mental health of students, and who should parents contact if they suspect a mental health issue? So a little bit of just concern related question there. And then, is there a source for their student if they experience anxiety? Are the counselor appointments available to all students? So we can kind of go first, helping monitor the mental health, and then second, all students experiencing anxiety.
Yeah, I mean, we really try to make ourselves accessible to all students in a variety of different ways, and are constantly encouraging students to reach out and ask for help. We are very involved with training the housing staff, work collaboratively with the Dean on Call system, UCPD, all of the partners, academic advising, and others. So again, I would like really want you to know that there is a 24/7 safety net and a coordinated team in place here that is available to identify a student who might be experiencing distress and refer them appropriately to us. There's a robust range of 24/7 options available to students, both on the medical as well as the mental health side. Now, as far as parents and their concerns, depends on the concern that you have. And I would always say, talk to your student. You know, it's a big transition. It's hard to really know how they're doing. So start talking to them about a plan as they transition to college, about staying in touch regularly. Ask them open-ended questions, try to inquire how are they doing in all domains of their life, because it is a big change academically, socially, emotionally. How are they feeling? So you're kind of like, in a way, kind of gauging if something seems to be amiss. Talk to them. Again, find out, is there sort of something that they feel confident that they can handle, or does it really feel like they are struggling? And again, depending on the nature of the struggle, encourage them always to reach out, ask for help. For mental health, we see thousands of students coming in for a range of normal developmental issues like homesickness, adjusting to academic stress, social relationships. So it's not unusual for students to come in and just have someone to talk to. If you're really feeling worried and concerned, you know, that maybe your child is not following through, that they've maybe tried things and they still seem to be struggling, you're noticing very dramatic changes in their behavior, their mood. And as parents, a lot of times we have intuition where you can kind of feel like something is off. And you can, again, call us to just consult. Now, if you're seeing the student, we cannot share any information with you, but we're happy to listen to you and try and troubleshoot the situation, try and advise you on next steps, and kind of figure out maybe perhaps the range of different intervention strategies that might be appropriate given the scenario. If it really feels like your student is experiencing something really urgent or some kind of a mental health crisis where they need immediate help, we have a therapist on call, 24/7 available. You can call, you can talk to them. It's a phone number, so that's accessible worldwide, 365 days a year. You can also reach out to the Dean on Call through the U Chicago, through UCPD, or the U Chicago Safe app. That's an administrator who's on call 24/7, and they are happy to talk to you and assist, depending again on the nature of the situation, and then mobilize other resources as needed. So those would be sort of like my suggestions. Sorry, long-winded answer covering the entire continuum.
Perfect, thank you. No worries. I promised that no one would leave with questions, so we need to make sure that they're fully answered. In terms of advising and students' schedules, if their student doesn't like their course schedule, which I'm sure, Chris, you never hear, but how can they work with their advisor to rectify that if that does come up?
It comes up on occasion. Yeah, there's definitely opportunities. So as you all probably know, students just came through the pre-registration period and have been resolved into a number of courses, and that number could vary depending on the courses that they selected. One thing to highlight is that registration at the University of Chicago is a staged process. So there are multiple stages at which changes can happen. At this point, our goal is to make sure students are in a full schedule. And so during orientation week, your student might get tapped by their advisor to have a meeting to make sure that they're in a full schedule. Or if there is a course that they, and this is very narrowly defined, but a course that they have to be in, the advisor will work with them on that. As of the first day of class, the add drop period opens, and that's a 3-week period that allows students to add and drop classes on their own. Now, we don't recommend that they just do this willy-nilly. There should be some thought and that goes into this in conversation with their advisor, but they do have that opportunity. Let's say they've got the courses they need, but they don't really want to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning to be at a particular class. We're not going to make that change ahead of time, but if they are able at that point when add drop opens to find a section of that course that works better for their preference, then they're welcome to make that change at that time. So for those 3 weeks, they can add and drop classes. There are nuances to that related to some courses require the consent of instructors, but the advisors will walk them through that, and they'll be getting information on these different phases of registration as they become relevant.
Perfect. Thank you. Over to Eric. We have a family member who's very concerned about the safety around campus. How does the university plan to ensure that students are safe, and are students informed about specific areas in and around campus in terms of safety and security?
So when I talked a little earlier, I talked about our website and the Stay Informed page. There's a couple of suggestions I would consider sharing with your students. First and foremost, if a crime occurs on campus that meets the level of a serious crime, and we have determined that crime may be a continuing threat, i.e., a robbery occurs on campus, and we don't make an arrest, and we think there may be another occurrence possibly, all university community members will receive what's called a security alert, detailing what crime took place and some tips around personal protection guidelines. Now, I will say crime on campus is relatively rare in comparison to crime off campus. We are a major urban city. We don't have any ability to ensure complete safety. The biggest part of understanding about living in an urban city is making sure that you're using good transportation options to get around the city. And then if you do happen to be a victim of crime, making sure that you know where to report it, either to the Chicago Police Department, to the University of Chicago Police Department, and seeking resources through the Dean on Call, as well as UCPD's victim and witness assistance. We don't really guide people on where to go and where not to go. Your students are adults, and we want them to explore the city. Chicago's a fantastic city. I've lived here for 10 years, moved away once, and actually came back because we like it so much. But the reality is we do provide quite a bit of information about what goes on in our extended patrol area in the neighborhoods immediately adjacent to campus. You can go to our website. We provide quarterly data on the crime that occurs off campus, but within our patrol area. We also offer opt-in measures that you can get, like a daily crime bulletin that summarizes the most serious crimes that occur in the local neighborhoods surrounding our campus that are within UCPD's patrol area. So again, go to that Stay Informed page at our website. A lot of different ways that you or your student can be informed about the crime that's going on in the area. We are unique, not completely, but in comparison to most of our peers and to institutions across the country. Our police department and our security officers service about a 4 square mile jurisdiction beyond our campus to help ensure, or at least reduce considerably, victimization with relation to violent crime in the surrounding communities. But again, they're great communities. They are rare circumstances when our students are subject to violent crime. The biggest thing is download that mobile safety app so that you have immediate access to our department, to Dean on Call, or to the various resources that our department or our other partner agencies offer to your students.
Perfect, thank you. And we'll begin to wrap up here. I have one more question for Ravi. Does the Inclusion and Identity Office work with housing? And do you offer any programs for their student to help them connect with others within their house?
Yes, we work very closely with housing on a number of different initiatives. I'm thinking about we do workshops and trainings for particular house communities. Houses will come to programs as a group where we reserve blocks for them to participate. But I'm also thinking about orientation programming. We've got a series of campus life meetings, for example, to help students start to build peer networks and build relationships and share their identities and experiences. The other thing I would flag is, and Whitney just dropped in the chat, but students RAs are an incredible resource and are in communication with our campus inclusion fellows. So there are a lot of different avenues. One of the things that I say, I could talk a lot about the different offerings, but I might not hit the one of particular interest to you or your student. We encourage students to reach out to us, and we're happy to talk one-on-one about their particular situation, what they'd be most excited about anytime. So they can just email inclusion@uchicago.edu and we will get them connected with what they need.
Perfect, thank you. And then for our final question of today's webinar, I'd like to toss it over to our Deputy Dean of Students in the college and Chief of Staff, Karina. Just for a question about how parents stay connected with the college. They've received some communications from orientation via email over the summer. What does that look like when orientation is over?
Thank you, Samuel. Good evening, everyone. My name is Karina Buckles. I'm the Deputy Dean of Students and Chief of Staff in the college. I use she, her pronouns. Welcome. We're excited to be here with you all this evening. I wanted to highlight a few of the ways that parents stay connected with the college. First and foremost, there's a newsletter that parents and students receive. It's called the Phoenix Forum. If you're on our website, you can subscribe. I believe all parents are automatically added to receive this newsletter, but you can also check out the website to see previous newsletters that have gone out. They go out quarterly, and they talk about the educational experience and what's happening in the college. A friendly reminder to remind your students to enter your email addresses into their portal, because Dean Hale, our Dean of the college, will send quarterly welcome letters to the emails that have been inserted through the student portal. So please encourage your students to do that. On occasion, the Dean of Students, the Office of the Dean of Students in the college, will forward messages and communications to parents with major announcements. And Eric Heath highlighted a lot of the other ones that I was going to talk about in terms of safety on campus. And the last one I would encourage you to do is follow us on social media. The college has many outlets, as do many of my colleagues on here, where we post what's going on in our areas, highlight different students, student organizations, and events that are upcoming.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Karina. And with that, we are going to wrap up today's webinar on successfully transitioning your student to the college. We did get a few questions submitted around move-in logistics and O-Week in particular. And we would really like to encourage all of you here today to register and attend our final family webinar, which is tomorrow night, preparing for move-in and O-Week, where we will cover more specific details about move-in and our orientation programs. So we will have a representative from Housing and Residence Life, as well as from College Programming and Orientation. You can find details about that, as well as following us on social media in the chat. As always with our programming here, this has been recorded. So if you had to step away, or if you joined us a little bit late, or just want to revisit it because you want to see our beautiful faces once again, I don't blame you. It will be posted on our incoming student communications page very shortly after the conclusion of today's program. But once again, thank you to our panelists for being here. Thank you to all of our parents and family members for joining us today. And we were so glad to speak with you all, and we hope to see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.